Morning, everybody. Morning. Well, it's afternoon for most. I just like to say rest in peace to John Singleton. John Singleton, without a doubt, is one of the premier individuals who have come along and definitely pioneered the game as far as building it and taking it to a height where black directors were falling at the wayside. He was able to find a way to navigate and coexist when others couldn't. Now, we've all known that it was a matter of time with John. When he had his stroke, it was very severe, and he was on life support, and definitely hit the like button. Don't come in here and don't hit the like button. Now, a lot of people disagree with his Tupac script, but you got to take a look at what John done in his past and judge him on his body of work. Definitely hit a like for John. And no, he's not the director of Menace to Society, as one news person actually put on television. It was ridiculous. It's not his film. So make sure you hit a like for John. Yeah, they made a mistake. They're showing clips of Old Dog, and I'm like, that's Lorenz Tate, and he was not in Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was his first film. Yes, he leaves us at the age of 51. One of his best film to me to date is Higher Learning. Higher Learning is my favorite John Singleton film. It's one of my top 10 best movies of all time. John wasn't a very healthy person as far as eating habits. He would just eat anything he wanted. And if we learn anything about this, let's get checkups. Let's get let's start exercising. I'm getting back in the gym today. You know, he's 51, man. That's relatively young. His family decided to take him off life support after he suffered a very serious stroke, and they decided to pull the plug on him today. So, well, actually, very early in the morning. So they just told the world recently. Yes, Higher Learning has always been my favorite film. I did a movie review on it on Screen Fiend, as it was the first of its kind. Very underrated movie, highly underrated because of the simple fact that you never saw college life, the real college life, ever explored or talked about in film. And that was college. And a lot of your students, and you prepare your kids to go to school, and they're never prepared to what they're going to walk into. And a lot of kids walk into just that, and it end up changing them. And your kids, when they come home, they're not the same anymore because you've been protecting them and telling them everything's going to be okay. You know, life's like a Disney movie. Then you send them to college, and it's a whole new world. And everybody's broken off in their factions. And all these factions have forgot one quality, to just coexist, and they just couldn't without conflict. One of the most impactful felt films I have ever been in a movie theater to watch and witness from the audience. The audience was so into that film. That was the first movie to really feature a kissing scene of that nature, where a girl who was very indecisive on what she wanted to be sexually, she makes out with a girl on the screen, and the whole audience was freaking out. No, no, oh my God. And it was so impactful. When Deja got shot, the whole movie theater was ready to tear the place up. Especially when they start beating on Omar Epps, the cops, and they let Remy go. They was like, oh, hell no. If somebody don't do, if Remy didn't die, the audience clapped when Remy died. That was supposed to be a sad moment. You know how many girls named their daughters Deja after that movie? That movie made Tyra Banks a player in the game. I mean, John was banging Tyra Banks at the time, but still, it made him a player in the game. This is not Spike Lee. Okay? This is not the Hughes brothers. This is John Singleton. He was dating Tyra Banks at the time. That's how Tyra got the role. She was dating John Singleton so she can get in Hollywood. And John had just the part for. Pac didn't hate him. Pac was upset with John. But it wasn't John's fault. John had no choice to drop Tupac from the film, so that wasn't John's decision, but he was screwing up higher learning. So Omar Epps ended up taking the role. Because that was going to be Tupac and Tyra Banks. Well, he lived a great life, period. He put out a great movies. He brought back Shaft. Shaft 2 is coming out in about another month. But he reinvented Shaft, brought Shaft back, did a lot of great things. He got in a beef with the Wayans brothers. Oh, Robert, you must have just got here. We just got through talking about it. It's Higher Learning. Higher Learning is my favorite film by John Singleton. I'm somebody who didn't like Poetic Justice as much. I didn't think that movie was anything. I thought that was like one of his worst films. It had Tupac and Janet Jackson in it, and it was like one of the worst films he ever made. ever directed. Poetic Justice was, oh my God, it was awful. It was awfully written. And I'm like, John, what is this? It was nothing but a curse show. F you, F you, F you, F you, F you, nigga, F you, F you, F you, you B, F you, you B. I'm like, huh? What is this? It was just terrible. It was terribly written. He's, I don't know if I could ride with you. What was great about Poetic Justice? It was a decent one watch movie. I liked the beginning more than any parts with Janet Jackson. I couldn't stand Janet Jackson character. She was stuck up, arrogant, and was in the middle of nowhere, just like everybody else. Putting down Tupac character. He was the only one I admired in the whole movie. Yeah, the picnic scene, that was great for as long as it was, where everybody made a point. Besides then, it really just went left. The story just didn't have any more merit or nothing else. Joe Torre, Chicago, getting into it with the drunk girlfriend of his. Cut Pete. Now he was great. Like I said, the picnic scene was great. The beginning part with Tone Loc, that was my scenes, like those are my parts. Other than that, there's a lot of parts in there that I didn't really like. But it showed the range of Tupac. When he first going to his cousin's house after finding out his cousin died, just that scene alone just showed the type of range Tupac had as a character. He could reach emotional depth. The movie was terrible, man. I mean, it was really not a good movie. It was just something that was one time watchable. It's really a mess. But thank God that film didn't define him. Well, if you look at Boys in the Hood and you look at Higher Learning and you go to Poetic Justice, you're like, wow, this just went way left. Higher Learning was on the best, highest scale. We talk about top 10 greatest films ever made. Was Higher Learning. Higher Learning is in that class. That's legendary. It's hard to top something like that. You have a great film like Boys in the Hood, which was like Stand By Me with black kids. Growing up in his neighborhood of South Central LA. Right. People just can't accept it. I mean, yes, it had Janet Jackson and Tupac, but it was average. Was not a great movie. Rosewood, classic. And the brothers didn't support it. I remember going to see Rosewood. I turned down some sex to go see Rosewood. Then had a chance to go have sex again and blew that off to hang out with the people I was with after the fact. I'm still mad about that to this day because I definitely needed to go back to close that deal. Oh man, did I want to close that deal. Turned it down. It was thrown on me, thrown in my direction. Turned it down so I could go watch Rosewood. It was like 10 of us. We all went to go see Rosewood. I don't know, Richie, but I regret it to this day because I definitely should have closed that deal. Man, woo! I mean, it was a wild day. It was a wild day. I just got through balling at the basketball court earlier that day. It was like 11 in the morning. And back then, I ain't have a cell phone. Everybody had pages. So I was like, man, let me see if I could call, what's the name them, so I can get my buddy's number. So I swung by there and I need to get my buddy's number from her so I can contact them to see if they would, where everybody was on, because I didn't have it in my phone. Went and got the number, came back, everything was everything, and when I went to get the number, she was in the shower, coming out, buck naked in the robes. Like, I'll be back in a minute. I'm like, oh my God. Now, one of the main reasons, I didn't know if she was still like hooking up with my boy or whatever. So I was trying to find out the situation there too. But that wasn't why I was there. My purpose was to come in, get the number, go hit them up, which we did. We ended up coming back over there, kicking it at that place. And there she was like throwing it at me. And I was like, man, we already bought tickets for Rosewood. I ain't finna let this money go to waste. So I'm like, man, I'm like basically getting an entire TLC lap dance red light special treatment. And I'm like, man, this red light special treatment is something else. I'm getting a red light special. And I wish it was fictional because I would not have this in my brain right now. This is one of you will never forget a time you could have closed and didn't. Oh, that stay with you forever. Oh my God, I could have closed this deal. I was the one driving everybody too. That's what made it worse. I drove. I'm like, man, I don't want to sit there and drove everybody. I picked everybody up, drove everybody there, drove everybody home. Nobody chipped in on gas. We went and saw the doggone Rosewood movie, and I called, and she was like, "You can come back by yourself. Drop everybody off, and just come back, just you." I'm like, "Yeah, I should have did. I don't know why I blew that. I don't know why I blew that. No snaps on the petrol for real." Did John do Four Brothers? Cause I love that movie. Cause I said John, like he said, Shaft made him some money. He's like, but he didn't make movies just for money. But you got to make that movie to make the money. I mean, he was the one that took Taylor Lautner and put Taylor Lautner in that and featured him in the movie because he knew Taylor Lautner could pull off all these moves. His acting ability wasn't there to pull it off, but he definitely did the best he could in that movie. And the movie wasn't that bad. It's just that his acting was off. As a director, as a mind, somebody who understands film, he will be missed. What was that movie, Induction or something like that, with Taylor Lautner? That was a good movie. They filmed it in Pittsburgh. I know that. Abduction. Oh, it was Abduction. Okay. And recently he was doing Snowfall. He the one decided to bring on. If it wasn't for John Singleton, you know, he did Baby Boy. We can't forget Baby Boy. He was real good with bringing in certain characters like Melvin. I try to be a good nigga, but I can't, cause a bitch ass nigga like you. It's about guns and butter, baby. I was upset brothers didn't support Rosewood like they should have. And definitely, I should have closed the deal. I'm just thinking, if I'd have closed that deal, oh my gosh, where would I have been? Because if I'd end up dating her, that, oh God, that'd have been a mess. Complete mess. Well, in 2007, John was driving a car where he hit a jaywalking person, and the person jaywalking ended up dying. A lady, a 57-year-old lady. And he stayed on the scene. He did not have drugs or alcohol in his system. He was questioned, then he was released from the hospital. But you never know what kind of, you know, devastating effect that could have on a person. He wasn't charged. The person was jaywalking in the street, so they entered the street at the wrong time. Somebody was like, "You hit John Singleton really hard a couple years ago." I'm like, "No, I hit him hard when he was supposed to be hit hard." Because I don't like the fact that what he was doing with the Tupac movie. And I'm like, he wouldn't have made that. He know him and Pac wasn't vibing like that. For him to come in there and start talking about making a Tupac biopic and using Tupac's name for the film, like, oh, I wrote this role for Tupac, and all of these things. It's like, look, you didn't want to touch Tupac when Pac was coming to you asking you for help once he got out. You turned your back to him. You thought he was damaged goods. So you didn't feel a studio would bank him. Now that he was starting to come back, and now it's, oh, okay, yeah, I'll work with you, Pac. So on that note, yeah, I was definitely not feeling John on that, because I'm like, now you being phony when you're doing that. But look, his life work and what he's done in his life, you can't just judge off one incident. He was in Costa Rica when he came back from the United States. He said, man, he had trouble walking. That was on the 17th of April. He had just came from Costa Rica. And then he was put in a coma. And once he was put in a coma and on life support, I knew people was just getting things ready. They were hoping for the best, but that was pretty much the beginning of the end. He didn't make a lot of feature films. The last feature film he did was Abduction. That was in 2011, and he started going to television. John used to make movies every 2 years. Then he kind of stopped. After Four Brothers, he just stopped for like 6 years, and then he came with a television series. He did a couple of, I think he did an episode of Empire. Then he did American Crime Story. Then he did a show Rebel and Snowfall. You know, he created that show and produced it. He produced Black Snake Moan and Legal Tender and Hustle and Flow. He was one of the producers of those films. He didn't write them or direct it. He was just one of the producers. He wrote Higher Learning, Poetic Justice, and Boys in the Hood. He wrote Shaft and he wrote Baby Boy. His work will definitely be missed. He's the reason why Tyrese is making any type of money. Believe me, he took Tyrese and put him in Baby Boy, and then he brought him in the Fast and the Furious. He came in. Hollywood wanted to continue the story of Fast and the Furious, and they needed somebody to direct it. Where Vin Diesel thought this was insane, they brought in, without Vin Diesel walking away, they brought in John. So John Singleton came in and had a fresh new look and idea. Brought in the Asian dollars by having an Asian character in there. Brought in Ludacris, made it more fun, hip hop, had it in Florida. You know, it became a beach type of movie and made it a fun movie, even though it was, he brought in Eva Mendes character and made it fresh, made it something entirely new. Of course, it didn't compare to the first one. This was more like a teen movie more than the first one was. First one was just had some dark points, edginess to it, and it was a real movie. This was just a fun summer movie to go and make some money off of. And it was funny. And Tyrese, who laughed his way through the entire script, got through it. If you don't believe me, go watch Too Fast, Too Furious all over again and see how Tyrese laughs his way through the entire script. He fake laughed on every scene. Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha. Playing Rome. You know, I'm just telling you, go watch it. I ain't gotta watch. I ain't seen that movie in years, and I guarantee you, that's all you gonna hear. Well, according to John, that's what John's gonna say, that that role was gonna go to Tupac. But I don't believe John on that at all. Antoine Fuqua did Training Day, not John Singleton. Well, we all got to get in better shape. We all got to get ourselves checked out. We all got to do things to keep ourselves up to par. You know, thanks for supporting the channel, bro. I really appreciate all y'all who came through. Don't forget to hit that like button. Show some support for John. Like movies like Higher Learning, you know, Boys in the Hood, Rosewood, Shaft, Baby Boy. If I had to rank all his films from worst to first, oh man, that would be kind of difficult. That is very difficult to do. But number one is Higher Learning for me. That's not even questionable. I'm going to the gym today. That is definitely guaranteed. Got to get things done. But rest in paradise, man. You lived a great life, John. Wish you could add more of it.